Hello, I'm John. Warhammer 40,000 Leviathan has just been released, and you're watching Wargames, Models and Other Hobbies. Hello and welcome to this video. In this series, I'm going to be looking at planning and creating a Space Marine army for 10th edition Warhammer 40,000. Now I've just got my copy of Leviathan, and I cracked it open, started making some of the models. So we've got the Apothecary and the Lieutenant, or Lieutenant, however you want to say it, as well as the Screamer Killer. And I had to stop myself there. I have so many unfinished projects that I need to organise and plan a lot better. So I've decided that I'm going to plan and make a Space Marine army for 10th edition. I've had this army idea for quite a while, and I've started a few little bits of it, but I've never kind of got round to finishing it. I do have a lot of stuff already in the reserves which I'm going to be able to pull from to create this army, and I'm going to do a series of videos for each unit depending on what I need to do to them, on how I need to finish them and so on. And then I'm going to go through the painting videos and so on. So the theme of the army is going to be my homebrew chapter, the Void Crows. So currently I only have this one lone Intercessor Primaris Space Marine as the sample model for my homebrew chapter. I do have a whole load of lore that I've thought about for this chapter, so if anyone would like me to do a video on that, please drop a comment. But for now, what I need to do is plan what I want in this army. So I have my pad of paper and a pencil, and I'm going to quickly jot down the things that I want to include in this, so it gives me a basis to start the whole process. So to start with, what I'm looking to have for my Void Crow army is a demi company or a part of a battle company as its basis. So I have the demi company. I'm going to want it led by a character. So as it's only half a company, it's going to be by the Lieutenant or Lieutenant. Which I do have a model for. So here is the model for that character. I've got to finish this character, so I will do a video on finishing this one off. I can't remember off the top of my head the name of this Space Marine character it's based on, but I'm sure if you know it, you can drop it in the comments. So that's the leader of the demi company. I'm also going to want to include the standard bearer, so I'm going to need the ancient for this force. I do have already started this banner bearer, the ancient. Still got a lot of work to do on this one, but again, it's another video that I'll produce on how I finish this one off and then get onto the process of painting. As you can see, there's going to need to be some sculpting and things on this one. So I've got that one all ready to go. And finally, because it came with the Leviathan box set, I've got the Apothecary. So there is the Apothecary ready to go. So squad-wise for this, because it's a demi company, what you look for is 3 battle line, 1 assault and 1 heavy support, but it can vary slightly, so I'm not too worried if it kind of goes out of line slightly. What I do want to do is include a Stern Guard squad as like the first squad of the company, so the veterans of that company. This is either going to be the one that came with Leviathan or a converted version, so I'll do a video on that one as well. I'm also looking for a bit more punch, so I'm going to have a heavy Intercessor squad. And the benefit of having the heavy intercessor squad is the Apothecary can join that squad, as well as another one I've got an idea of having in this army as well. So that's 2 battle lines. There's another one I haven't quite thought of to make it up to the 3. It might be an intercessor squad. I'm not sure yet, but we'll have a look at that. And then for the assault part of the demi company, I'm going to just have an assault intercessor squad. Which I've already got made up. So that's just going to be painting and things like that, which we'll look at in another video. Now for the heavy support in this demi company, I've got an option of either going with the Infernus Squad that came with Leviathan, but I do also have an Eradicator Squad. Now I like the idea of having the Eradicator Squad because the Apothecary can either join that or the heavy intercessors. I do want to include an Infernus Squad from the Leviathan box set. So what I will do is that will be a support squad, which will come from either the, let me count this right, the 9th company. So we'll have a 9th company support with an Infernus Squad. So they've been attached to this company. So that's the main kind of body I want to build this army around. I do want to add a few other things to it. So I may add some dreadnoughts. I'm going to have a look at that in the future. But the first support I want these guys to have is from the 1st company, so the veteran company of the chapter. And immediately can get the Terminator Squad from the Leviathan box to be that 1st company support. So that is a Terminator Squad. So as well as the 1st company support, what I want is some Vanguard support. So straight away, the first thing is the Lieutenant, the Lieutenant, whichever you want to say, I don't mind, with the Leviathan box. It's a great model, this one. I do love the details and everything. So I'm going to start with the Lieutenant, the Lieutenant, and I've spelt that wrong. Let me correct that while I need to pay attention while I write. There we go. So we've got that character there. The first thing I want with my Vanguard support is some suppressors. Now here's one partly made. I've got the other 2 and I've got to decide the heads for these ones. So I'm going to have a suppressor squad. As well as the suppressor squad, I'm going to include my eliminators. So I've got a squad of those as well. And then to round off that group, I have an infiltrator squad that I want to include. Now this Vanguard support, On its own, because of the character that comes with Leviathan, that can't be a warlord. So if I want to take this group and have it as a separate small force, I need to have a character to do that. So I'm going to go with the Librarian in Phobos armor. So that can be a warlord if I want to use this as a smaller force. So I'll include the Librarian. So there is the Vanguard Support. So now I've kind of got a rough idea of what I want to do with this army. I'm going to try and stick as closely as possible to this. I've got a few conversions that I want to do down the line as I go through them, and I'm going to do videos on those processes. I may include other things to this army as it develops, but for now I've got this list of items that I'm going to try and stick with. If you want me to include any specific videos in this series, so now I've got that list, I'm going to try and stick as closely as possible to it. I did enjoy coming up with this chapter. I do think it's about time that I finish an army along this theme. There are little details on these that I want to include throughout the army. So we've got things like runes that are part of their lore. And I want to come up with the company badges and other details and that kind of thing. But for now, I'm going to leave it at this for this planning stage. Any of the squads I haven't started already, I'm going to start putting them together. I'm not going to include that in a video, as it's just putting together the stock models. What I will do is I'll do some videos on converting the models and finishing them off. And then we'll go on to the painting stage and so on. So looking at the list of models, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 squads and 5 characters. I may add some vehicles, but I think that's a good place to start with this project for 10th edition. So I hope you've enjoyed this video of the brief planning stage. Stay tuned for other videos in the series. Hopefully there'll be quite a few and they'll be on different themes and so on. If there's anything that you'd like to suggest in this series, please drop a comment. But for now, my name's John, and you've been watching Wargames Models and Other Hobbies.